Now at Mickey D's, when you buy any crispy chicken sandwich or Quarter Pounder with cheese, you'll get a free medium fry and free medium drink when you order on the app. So, do you have the app? How you going to get this deal if you don't have the app? I know you have a phone. Anywho, if you have the app, enjoy your free fries and drink. If you don't, you can't see me, but know that I'm shaking my head. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Limited time only at participating McDonald's. Valid one time per day. Visit McDonald's app for details. Download and registration required.
O'Reilly.
Change your vehicle's oil before your summer road trip and save money now with Pennzoil and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, get 5 quarts of Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic for just $22.95 after mail-in rebate. Save money and protect your engine against sludge and wear with the synthetic oil change. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, recording from the Unscripted studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
Great Redeemer, God of grace.
All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted from my studios in Old Hilliard. Corby, thank you for the introduction on audio, as always. This is an important one today. We want to get this out quick. This is going to be a quick episode, but it doesn't minimize the topic. So let me let my guest introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
My name is Matt Triplett. I'm the boys head coach over at St. Francis de Sales High School, and I've been working with a legislative team to work on a bill called HB 492. And basically, what it is it's a requirement as part of the Ohio People Activity Permit process to have coaches certified in mental health training as a part of that certification. So that's a big part. Mm-hmm.
Huge topic. So real quick though, there's a little more that you're being humble. You went to Dublin Kaufman High School, correct?
Correct, I did. Yep, and graduated
played
there.
at,
And then
played at the Ohio State. Played at the Ohio State lacrosse.
I did. Not a superstar, but I was there.
You were there. Hey, you know what? You still did it. And so played local guy, Kaufman High School, Ohio State, and now coaching at DeSales. So you stayed local after graduating. Is that right? I
did. I was an assistant coach over at Kaufman for 5 years before I went over to DeSales. So stayed local and love it.
Yeah. All right. So, and I wore my. Did you see? I mean, I know people are probably listening, but I wore the STX hat. I mean, I don't know a thing about lacrosse. I've said this before on a podcast a million years ago. I don't know a thing about lacrosse, but I'm a Carolina fan, as most people know. And I guess it was probably about 2-3 years ago. It might be more than that. I don't even remember. But I was home, and Carolina was playing. I think it was Maryland, maybe. Mm-hmm. I think it was Maryland was the number 1 seed. And so I turned this on ESPN, my app or on the TV or whatever, and I'm watching this. And honestly, I cheered. I was more nervous and cheered more for that game than maybe any of Carolina's previous championships in basketball, because I'm a basketball guy. Honestly, it was the most intense. It went to overtime. Carolina was not ranked. I think Maryland was ranked number 1.
Yeah.
Carolina ended up winning. I didn't have a clue what I was watching, but it was fantastic, and so I'll always have that memory.
Yeah, actually, pretty cool little nugget is the coach that's at Carolina now. He was my coach when I was at Ohio State, Coach Bresci.
Yes, so I've heard that before. Heard that before, just from the friends that I have that are in the lacrosse community. So, very cool. Okay, so but we are here to talk about HB 492.
492. Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that right?
Yep.
492.
Correct.
You have a Zoom call on Wednesday. Is that correct? So today is February the 7th, mm-hmm. Monday, February the 7th. I hope to get this episode out today, if not today, tomorrow. I want people to log in because I think some, if not most of the people in my audience have athletes. I have 3. two that are in college now, but that were in high school. One that is currently a swimmer in high school. Let's really dig into 492 and what the purpose of that bill is.
Sure. So 492 is it's a bill that requires coaches to have mental health training as a part of their certification process. And it's not to make coaches therapists or anything by any means, but basically what it is it's like if I were to take a first aid class and you were one of my players and you broke your wrist or a hand or finger or leg on my field. I'm not going to set your bone. I'm not going to try to put a splint around it or anything. My job is to understand, is it a break? Is it a sprain? Or do I need to call your parents or do I need to call the squad? And so really 492, the whole purpose of it is to train coaches to understand when they're having a conversation with a kid, is the conversation just talking about, just being an ear to listen to? Is it something where the kid needs, the parents called, or is it something where they need a professional called, 911 needs to be called?
Wow. And that's, gosh, I got to think. So I coached both of my kids in travel sports, and they were young. I mean, third grade to, let's just call it sixth grade through sixth. And then you turn them over to the middle school and then they go to the high school after that. But at the same time, you can identify, you spend enough time in practices and especially as a parent, when you have your own kids, you can start to identify what's going on with a kid, because I mean, you have your own kids, you kind of start to identify. I think most of us can identify something's going on at home, something's going on in their personal life or whatever it might be. But boy, that's asking a lot from a coach. But at the same time, it's so important. And I think that's what we're really here to talk about is it's really important. And it's never been more important than it is right now. Because of COVID, because of shutdowns, because of the many things that these kids are facing that you and I never, ever faced in our lives. What is the intent and what does the coaching look like, do you believe, for this? So let's just say this passes. I hope it does pass. I really do. I mean that. So I'm very pro this bill. Let's just say it passes. What does that look like?
Well, once it passes, obviously being a part of the team to help write the legislation and put everything into play, we can't, we're not mental health experts by any means. So what it does is it mandates that this needs to be done. Then it kicks it over to the Ohio Department of Mental Health. The Ohio Department of Mental Health then sets the standards that says, okay, they need to have these five things that are in training, whether it be training in suicide prevention, whether it be, positive coaching, things like that. The Ohio Department of Mental Health is the one that sets the curriculum. The reason why we're doing it as a bill, as opposed to waiting for something like the OHSAA or the Ohio Department of Education to put something out, is because this guarantees that it gets done versus it becomes somebody's project at ODE or the Ohio Department of Education, and then maybe they move on and then it gets dropped. This way, we're guaranteed that somebody has to work on it in order to get it put in place. And to your point earlier, when you say that this is a lot to put on a coach, it really isn't. And the reason why it isn't is because by law, if there's any kind of instances of child abuse, sexual assault, neglect, anything else, coaches are required by law to be first reporters, right? So if we know something's going on at home, I can get in trouble if I don't report it. Same thing with, it's kind of the same thing with if a kid is suicidal, and I don't know what signs to look for and who to contact and who to bring in, then potentially there could be liability things that could come into play if I try to treat that person. Whereas if I get training on this and I hand it over to a school counselor, at the very least, if I don't know which way to go, I know to involve the school counselor versus trying to talk the kid out of something or talk to the kid for half an hour and then he goes home and does something to himself.
So what would be some of the signs if I was a coach? And if this is, and so we're unscripted, so you never know what I'm going to ask.
Sure.
If this is out of bounds, please let me say pass. But what would be some of the signs that I would look for in an athlete?
Sure. Some of the signs that you might take a look at is if the kid starts to become withdrawn from daily life, their diet changes significantly, they stop eating, the way that they interact with friends, the way that they talk about things, they do things like they don't start talking about future events, they don't start planning for events in the future, they start talking about and focusing on mostly a lot of the negative things in their lives. So that's just a small, kind of a small snippet of some of the things. But then you also have to look at, are you dealing with depression? Are you looking at anxiety? Are you looking at performance anxiety? So is it something where, does a kid do something to get out of a test? Does a kid do something to, not having to, be part of a contest or something where they might not be physically ill, but a lot of times, I have a headache, I have a migraine, I can't perform. And it's something that is not a physical symptom that you can check. Well, the kid did throw up, or he did not throw up, or she, so things like that, you can take a look at. Then there's also eating disorders, body dysmorphia, looking at, teenage girls, when you have male coaches don't have the exact same experience as a female coach would. Not to say that a male wouldn't be a great coach. However, if a male coach is saying, hey, your fitness levels aren't that great, or, hey, losing a couple pounds might be a good idea for your running or for your fitness, and that girl already has body issues, what's going on there, so this helps to kind of train coaches to, to identify or at least be aware of a lot of the different things just outside of just being suicidal and depression.
Gosh, that's a lot to put on a coach. But at the same time, you are honestly the coaches. I'll say this. I think we know anybody that's coached your own kid or been around your own kid. You could tell your kid, hey, lift your left elbow when you do this, or, do this. Kids that play sports, we tell them a million times at home. Then the coach tells them and they listen.
Right.
I think most people listening know, parents, you're probably, any parent of an athlete knows right now that you've said it a million times, but when the coach says it all of a sudden, that's what they want to do. But that can be a positive and a negative. So when a coach, mentions something. So I'll tell you, in my very own home, we've dealt with eating disorders. We've dealt with one of my athletes just started taking better care of themselves. I'm being careful how I word this. Being careful of them. They took very care of their diet, and because of that, lost a bunch of weight. Mm-hmm. And the coaches actually came to him and said, you need to gain some weight because this individual performed better when he was, I keep saying him. Anyway, I'm sorry. They performed better when they were heavier. Let's just put it that way.
Sure.
Because of the position that they play. So, those coaches' words hold a lot of weight. To your point, I think, wow. I mean, it's different than just saying you need to get you need to get in the post. You need to get faster. You need to get stronger. You need to jump higher. You need to swim faster. I'm just grabbing stuff, but
sure.
Boy,
I mean,
that's a lot different,
right? I mean, it's a lot to put on a coach, but let's be honest, we're not living in the same times as it was 10 to 15 years ago.
No.
I mean, nope. Between everything that's going on with social media, with bullying, with things with COVID, and everything that these kids go through on a daily basis. I mean, you and I can agree if there was something going on, we didn't perform well at school or in a game, unless the paper or the news crew was there 15, 20 years ago, nobody really knew about it. Right. And if you needed to escape it, you went home. Nowadays they got, they have people who are commenting on Twitter and commenting on different social media pages on how a kid performs. The entire world's going to see if a kid messes up in a game. It's going to become someone's highlight reel on Instagram or Twitter, right. and they can get to the kids 24/7, and so the kids really can't escape it unless the parent takes away the phone. And that opens up a whole nother can of issues with phone addiction and things like that. So, it's the world we live in, unfortunately.
Hey everyone, my name is Cami Pranel and I'm the Executive Director for My Unscripted. We hope you are enjoying today's interview. My Unscripted is dedicated to helping others find their voice, passion, and follow their dreams. Our team can help create websites, apps, YouTube channels, podcasts, media, and social content. Whatever your passion and vision, we can help. Our good friend Manny Ahome of Samaritan's Feet once said, "Make sure your dreams and goals are big enough to create room for others to join you." We've created room for you to join us too. Find out more at myunscripted.com. Now let's join Aaron for the second half of today's interview.
So as a coach, would you, this is completely off topic, maybe
Sure.
maybe on topic, off topic. I gotta think coaches have to watch social media now too. So before your player would come in, you would just watch their time in the gym during practice and then in games. Mm-hmm. And then we all go home. To your point, we all went home. That was the old days. Nowadays, You've got social media. You got Snap. You got Instagram. You got TikTok. You got all this stuff. At the high school, I know in the colleges they have to because of NCAA regulations, because a kid could say something, do something that could throw a school into potential NCAA violations, which is a whole other thing. But they have departments designed to that. High schools don't have that. They just have a coach that a lot of times is getting paid minimal dollars, if they're getting paid at all. A lot of them are just volunteering their time. But I got to think high school coaches probably have to watch social media for the very signs that you talked about, disengagement, those things. Do you think so?
We do. So one of the things that I do with my team is, we talk to a lot of the captains. So, and as well as I let the parents know full well at the beginning of the year, once they come to us, that, I've been trained in these things. This is one of my passions. This is one of the things that I'm focusing on. So, unfortunately, until it's season, when I'm around your child every single day, until somebody brings something to me and lets me be aware of it, it's not going to be on my radar. Maybe the kid is just that way on social media. Maybe they are withdrawn. So one of the things that I've noticed, though, is once I became certified myself in mental health first aid and understanding the signs and knowing what to do with a lot of those, the parents, peers, siblings, even the child themselves have raised their hands and say, "Hey, Coach, I'm not okay. Can we talk?" Or the parents have said, "Hey, Johnny is not doing so well. Can you give him a call? I'm just worried about him." Mm-hmm. So just the fact that I know what I'm doing in terms of understanding, which professional to send them to, and is it a conversation that I'm supposed to have, or is it something somebody else is supposed to have? Understanding those differences, it's really helped quite a bit open things up where parents, friends, everybody else have no problem raising their hands and saying, "Hey, this is a conversation that needs to be had." So it's kind of one of those things where it's been a blessing in disguise.
Oh, absolutely. Because look, there's not a parent that I can imagine wants to not be involved or be aware. Right. And our kids are really good at running off to practice, running off to this, running off to that, and as parents, man, we're busy, and sometimes, and I guess I'm giving grace to those parents that you may not recognize it right under your home, but boy, if a coach, if it pops up at practice and a coach was able to get a kid to a place where they're able to get some help that they need, boy, we got to do it. We got to do it. So what are the ways for this audience? How can we get involved? Wednesday night, again, today is February 7th, Monday, February 7th. I'm going to get this up as soon as possible. Wednesday night, so that would be the 9th. Why don't you give us the details of the 9th? And then if by chance somebody listens to this after the 9th, what are some other ways that they can help?
Right. So Wednesday the 9th, it's a webinar at 6 p.m. that's going to be put on by USCA. It's the U.S. Council for Athlete Health. It's basically a lot of former OSU athletic trainers, doctors, and people who provide training and platforms for people to learn about anything medical related to the athletes health. And specifically, it's going to be Dr. James Borchers, who is the Big Ten Chief Medical Officer. He believes in the bill and is behind it. And really, he's going to talk about with parents why something like this is so important, why your athlete's health matters, and why you should become an advocate for them as opposed to just kind of writing along with it. And then we're also scheduled to have the representative and co-sponsor on the bill to really talk about what are the next steps from a political process. on where and how can parents get involved. I'm by no means an activist. I think I've never signed a petition in my entire life. But this is a political process, and let's not kid ourselves. So from a support standpoint, it's not enough for parents to reach out on Facebook and say, "Hey, I support this." They need to call their Ohio House rep. They need to, write them, call them, email them, and really get in touch and be part of that political process. Because while this is an important bill, it's important to us, and it might not necessarily be important to another person in committee or anybody else within the House. So they need to hear from the public, and the more names and the more people that call in, the higher on their agenda it gets, because it's, they understand more and more people care about this. So if people are not able to join the webinar, I'm going to talk to them and see what we can do about getting a recording set up, or even possibly another one. But there's a foundation out there. It's called the Complete Athlete Foundation. It's called the CompleteAthleteFoundation.com, okay. And it's the mother of 2 Division I athletes, and both of them suffered from anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. And basically she started this foundation as a way to help athletes cope and give training tools to coaches for suicidal and players with anxiety. So all of the information for the bill is on there. And the great thing about it is, you see these bills that are hundreds of pages long, and being one of the people who helped write it, it's a very simple bill. Every year, coaches get trained. Every 2 years, coaches get trained and certified in mental health training, and that mental health training is to be the curriculum is to be set by the Ohio Department of Mental Health. That's it. It's 17 pages, but it's all legalese and legislative speak. That's what it boils down to. Is every 2 years, coaches are trained in mental health.
Okay. All right. So there was a lot there. I'll put those links in this post. But at the end of the day, we need to contact our local representatives, I think is the Ohio
rep. Mm-hmm.
The Ohio representatives. Let's just say everything, in a perfect world, when could all this be in place? In
a perfect world, given it's election year, we need to get it done by fall. We need to get it passed, and at least on the way to the governor's desk before fall season hits. We're talking August, July area. In a perfect world, we'd love to see it get implemented ASAP. But really, once we get it passed, it then kicks it over to the Ohio Department of Mental Health, and then they work on it and set the curriculum. So, perfect world, I'd love to see it be implemented for school year 2023-24, which is next school year. But the sooner we can get this passed, and the sooner the kids are going to be able to have coaches that are trained.
In the meantime, worst case scenario. I think I know as a parent and also as a coach, the last thing you want is parents helicoptering their kids, their athletes. But on this, we got to do it, right? I would think if you're a mom or dad listening to this and there's something going on at home, not related to the white lines, let's just call it that, the white lines, whatever sport it might be, whether it's even swimming, wrestling, there's a million, kids are actively involved. I have to, and I don't want to speak for you, but I have to think, if you're noticing signs at home and your kid, I mean, at the end of the day, mm-hmm. something's not right. Is it fair to say, reach out to the coach? Don't talk about playing time. Don't talk, all that. Let's just talk about, hey, my son, daughter is going through something, keep an eye out for this. Is that fair to say? And I think that helps the coach even to be aware and to know, let me look for some signs and symptoms.
Right. I would actually, if I were the parent, I would reach out to 2 people. I would reach out to the coach, and I would reach out to at least one of the school guidance counselors. Okay. So that way, if that coach isn't in season, those guidance counselors are typically around the kids enough where they're going to notice day-to-day behavior changes, or at least be on the lookout for them. Lacrosse is a spring sport, and I'm not in the building every single day. So if a parent brings it to me, I'm going to have to schedule something separate. But I would also bring in the school guidance counselor. So that would be a key thing. And the operative thing that you just said is, a lot of parents, they talk about being helicopter parents and whatnot. And a lot of parents, they see signs that are different. And a lot of times they'll think, well, it's either A, shameful or something that it's to be concerned about, or B, it's no, this can't happen to my kid because we're in whatever socioeconomic class or whatever it might be. And the answer is, yeah, it can.
Yeah,
And,
right.
My inbox is filled with parents and players emails who have written me. I don't even know who they are. I've never met them in person, who have written me as a result of working on this bill. And this, typically it's, I've had this bottled up. Let me tell you my story. And they tell me, and they tell me their story. And it's, usually it's, I didn't feel comfortable telling my coach, or, we thought we could, we thought we were alone in this. Well, you know what? There's hundreds of thousands of people out there like that. And the way you end the stigma, it's not a hashtag on a tweet. It's
Right.
talking about it.
Right.
So if my friends, their daughters or sons have issues, they call me up, and and they know that what I'm working on, and they have no problem calling me up and saying, hey, what do I do in this instance? This is what I'm noticing. Here's this, here's that. That's how we get rid of that stigma, is we got to talk about it.
Man, I love what you're doing. I really do. I'm passionate about what you're doing, and I hope anybody listening to this becomes passionate about it too. I'm not a political guy. I don't even understand. I do remember Schoolhouse Rock, and
Right.
that's about the extent of my political understanding when a bill becomes whatever it becomes. But that being said, it's important. And so if you're listening to this, if you have a child, if you're a coach, a parent, whoever it is, if you're a coach, man, put your antennas up, because those kids trust you and the words you say, and hang on the words you say, maybe even more than mom and dad. We all know that as parents of athletes. Parents keep an eye out, boy, more than ever before. And I'll say this too, as you were talking, I think, the world has changed, and a lot of things, we've gotten, funding things for small businesses. A lot of things are being passed right now, because I think, as much as we all want to wring our hands at where we are, at the same time, I think there's a lot of things being passed right now, because thank God for people like Kevin Love and a lot of other people who have come out on mental health and mental wellness, and it's no longer not okay to say I'm not okay. Athletes are coming out. There's predominant people in media that are coming out and saying I'm not okay, and therapy is probably at an all-time high, and good, because if that's what helps make this better, none of us want to see a kid struggle, especially our kids, man. We don't want to see them struggle, and they've been given, to your point earlier, they're facing things that you and I never faced ever, far beyond the white lines. They're facing new challenges that present a lot for them, and that's me speaking as a dad of 3 kids. It breaks my heart. And so let's run down again really quick. How can we get involved? Wednesday night. What's the best way to find Wednesday night? And I'll have all this in the post, but for anybody driving in their car, what's the best way for us to get on Wednesday night and hear about this?
Sure. If they're not on Twitter, go to USCA, USCAH, U.S. Council for Athletes Health. On their site, they actually have the webinar information, or go to thecompleteathletefoundation.com, and all of the information is on there as well. But it's like you said, I'm not a political person, but I don't know of a nonpartisan bill like this. I haven't seen something that this is as nonpartisan as this. It should be a no-brainer for any politician.
It should be a no-brainer for anybody. We're talking about the human health of a child, an athlete, a person. This is not a right or left issue. This is a human issue. This is an issue about a person. I don't know anybody. I'll tell you what, if there's anybody listening to this and they don't think that this is important, I'm not even going to say what I was thinking right now, because it's not very nice. This is important. This is really important. So, okay, 2 links. Wednesday night. Today is February 5th or 7th. I'm sorry, February 7th. So that's on the 9th. And then after the 9th, where do they go after the 9th again?
After the 9th, go to thecompleteathletefoundation.com. Okay. And on there has information about the bill, has different things. Yes, they are fundraising, but that's not the whole purpose of the foundation. With regard to HB 492, basically their job is to help us get as many people calling their reps and contacts. There's templates for letters in there. There's email templates. There's all of those things in there that people can use to help make contact.
Perfect. All right, that's great, because it's one link, and sounds like there's a hub for me if I'm interested in helping, because who knows when this is going to land or when somebody's going to hear it.
Right. You type in you type in your physical home address. It'll tell you who the rep is.
Awesome.
So it's everything down to that. Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. I appreciate your time. We had a couple technical issues getting going today, but this is important, and I'm glad we were able to kind of work through that to make this happen today. I'm going to get this up as soon as possible. We never know, man. If one athlete, if one coach is able to help one athlete, then we've done our job today. And I appreciate your time. I really, really do.
Absolutely, I appreciate it as well.
All right,
great
brother.
talking to you.
Good luck Wednesday night, and if I can ever be of any help, or My Unscripted can ever be of any help as an organization, please let us know.
Absolutely, will do.
All right, brother.
I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad, from his studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll see you next time on Unscripted with Aaron Conrad.